Welcome to the Food Clues Podcast, where we dive deep into the world of holistic health and wellness, conquering your food allergies and intolerances one bite at a time. I'm your host, Dr. Alexis Sams, holistic physical therapist, food allergy specialist, but you can call me the Food Allergy Doc. With this podcast, I'm all about helping you conquer your food allergies naturally. Through my unique Food Clues treatment approach, I've helped hundreds of people uncover the root causes of their food reactions and achieve true freedom from allergies and intolerances by identifying the missing links between their trigger foods and the underlying causes driving those triggers. In each episode, I'll be sharing the latest in my holistic health practices. I'll also be sharing transformative success stories. I'll bust some common myths surrounding healthcare and food allergy management and provide practical tips to support your healing journey. Whether you're struggling with chronic food allergies or looking for natural ways to manage other symptoms and enhance your well-being, this podcast is for you. Today's episode is packed with insights and actionable advice for better health that's right up your alley. So let's get started on the path to a happier, healthier you. All right, everyone. I promised a video to talk about my thoughts about anaphylaxis, what drives it all, and therefore what are the opportunities for really getting it under control and ultimately resolving it. And so I gave you a little tip in my picture the other day when I said I was going to be doing this video. And I'll just get straight to it. I think the underlying issue driving most anaphylactic responses has to do with difficulty with acid management within the body. So the little picture was actually like carbonated water or carbonated beverage, reflecting the acidic component, making the little fizzy bubbles. So I think that acid management is the prevalent underlying issue driving the anaphylactic response to certain triggers. Here's why. So if you see here, this is from the Calgary Guide. I just found it to be one of the best representative flowcharts for explaining anaphylaxis and anaphylaxis. I think I just say anaphylaxis because it sounds like my name. Anaphylaxis and hypersensitivity. So in general, anaphylaxis is considered a type 1 hypersensitivity. So look at what it says here. It says, see if I can zoom it in. Ooh, that zooms in a lot. It says for the response that there's an initial exposure to an allergen. We all know that. And then it says the immune system mistakenly recognizes the allergen as potentially harmful. And I've heard this, many times as the step. And so what I think is interesting is at one point when I have a couple clients who have anaphylactic responses to certain triggers. So I started asking myself kind of like, what is it mistakenly recognizing the allergen as to create this IgE related response? And I'm pretty sure that the body is likely mistaking it as it's kind of the IgE response is because it's grouping the allergen that's being introduced into a almost like a bucket category of acid. It's acidic in some way, shape, or form. And if the acid management issue has to do with managing loads, quantities, it may just be that the anaphylactic response is reflective of, unfortunately, the body doing such a poor job of acid management that there's so much acid buildup in the body that just a little introduction, again, the body will see as potentially harmful. No matter what type of acid it is, it's putting it into an acid bucket and saying, this is harmful, that we can't handle this. And it's sending a huge response, a huge avoidance symptom like the anaphylactic response. So why do I think, let me see if I can zoom back out of here. Can I zoom back out? Nope, zoom out, there you go. So why do I think that it's acid or anything acid component wise that the body is recognizing as potentially harmful, it's because when I started looking into it, so again, this is just a general schematic and it may not be all inclusive, but it's starting to get me to think. And so far, like the thinking kind of fits. All of these examples here, when I look them up, they all relate in some way, shape, or form to some type of like acid acidic component. So foods, most of the foods that produce an anaphylactic response have either a high fatty acid component or they have a high protein component, and proteins break down into amino acids. So if you want to take peanuts, for example, let's take peanuts and sesame because that's the newest allergy that was added to the NIH list of allergens. Both of them are really high in both fat and protein per serving. It's like you're getting a huge dose of both of those types of acids in a relatively small serving. It's kind of like a high dose in one hit. So that's a high surge of acids introduced into the body. Insect stings and bites, when I looked up, like wasp stings, bee stings, the venom have acidic components. Latex, the compounds, the proteins that make up latex, again, proteins, the building blocks of proteins are amino acids. So latex has an acidic component to it. When you look at these, the complement activation or the complement system, it is a system of proteins that complements, runs alongside the regular or normal immune responses to help identify and coordinate fights to take out different types of invaders, different types of germs. But again, the complement system is largely comprised of proteins, which break down to amino acids. NSAIDs, lots of medications, as I started looking them up, have acidic components or have components or are just largely acidic. Penicillin, which is derived from mold and mold spores, I've seen, or there are different types of studies and different types of readings that say that molds like thrive or prefer like acidic environments. So there's some type of like link between like mold and acid in some way. I'm not 100% clear on it, but I am starting to get hints of mold being linked to either acidic environments or them themselves have an acidic component in it. Exercise. Exercise, if you've kind of had that age-old been to the gym, worked out, and gotten the muscle soreness afterwards, that DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. Many of you might know that that is associated with lactic acid buildup in the system. So difficulties managing lactic acid could be one of these examples. Lactic acid is also found in milk. So that can be another kind of like subcategory that you can throw into this bucket. Environment, heat, cold, and sunlight, which you see here. Heat or increasing body temperatures increases the temperature of blood, and there are studies that show that with increased temperature of blood, it's associated with a lower pH value. So blood actually becomes more acidic when it gets warmer, or at least has the potential to become more acidic when it gets warmer. That also makes sense to me because I've seen correlations between elevated acid levels with the histamine response. So you know how people, you may have heard of people who get like really red or itchy or might even have a little bit of like a rash or breakout after they take a hot shower, so they don't take as hot showers. I feel like acid has to do with that because that hot shower increases, one, it increases circulation and it increases like the local temperature of the blood at the surface. So there's that. Sunlight. Sunlight links to vitamin D. Now this is the one that I'm looking into the most, but even just from my general research so far, one, the component that we get from sunlight, where we're advised to like go out in the sun to get our vitamin D, it's actually, I tell my clients it's more like a precursor of vitamin D because your body absorbs it and it actually uses it for a process in your liver to further along make vitamin D. to create it, but then it doesn't even stop there. That component is then transferred to or transported to the kidneys. And then your kidneys do the final stages that produce like the vitamin D that we all kind of generally know that our body needs and uses. But I've been picking up on those components, especially from the sunlight and from the portion in your liver as they work together, having acid-based characteristics from a chemical, like chemistry structure level, not necessarily like acid, like vinegar, you would taste it, but acidic from a chemical perspective. So I feel that it may be that if there's an issue in some way, shape, or form, or multiple issues, which would drive more of a response. If there's an issue with how your body deals with acids, and I'm gonna say probably within that acid management category, I'm gonna narrow it down to probably elimination, because our bodies, for the most part, are supposed to have a use and lose relationship with acids, all our acids in our body or anything that has an acid component. We're not necessarily supposed to store it for like later use like we do with like glucose and stuff like that. We're supposed to use what we need at the time and then eliminate the rest. Understanding that whether it's through our food routines or other chemical processes in the body, we should get a turnover of regularly like new and fresh acids for our bodies to use. So if there's an issue with acid elimination, and therefore it's causing a backup and a buildup of acid in our body, anything that might be related to acids, meaning these things, may be kind of, I guess, inherently like I'm not sure how you want to describe it. Like it's put on the list of your body to kind of like be on the lookout for these things because we've already got too much acid buildup. We can't handle anymore. So if any of these suckers try to come in, we really have to like sound the alarm and make sure that it doesn't get too far in, because we cannot. We can't deal, we can't handle. We're already at a critical mass level of acid anyway. And ultimately, I think that's where this hypersensitivity response comes from. The mistake, again, going back here, the mistake as an allergen might be when the IgE response turns to a protein. The mistake is that we're supposed to use proteins to help build muscle tissue, help with different types of other processes in the body. So the mistake is that because inherently proteins have an acidic component, the body's like, it's an acid, it's an enemy, get it out, deal with it, do something. Even though it's a protein and we're supposed to be using it. So that's what I think the mistake might be. So again, I'm definitely, one, working with clients who have anaphylactic responses to certain things, and I'm finding two things. Other clues that lead me to believe that elevated acid loads do exist in their body, and I'm starting to get a glimpse of reducing those acid loads are starting to change their perception and reactions. Their early perceptions and reactions to their trigger foods. So I'll give you an example. I do have a client who I'm working with who has a peanut response. And we are working through, one, we identified some symptoms that do kind of point towards difficulty eliminating acids and therefore acid buildup being an issue. So we're working on getting those acids level down. Super side note, estrogen has a significant acidic component. So when we're talking about elevated loads, estrogen dominance, or difficulty eliminating estrogens fall into this category. So that's a huge underlying issue that might be driving some anaphylactic responses. Back to my client. I just thought about it because estrogen is one of the things that we're finding are elevated, one of the acid types of substances that we're finding to be elevated in her system. So we're working on getting those down, and as we are working to get those down, no, she has not consumed any peanuts. We're not anywhere near close to that type of test. But we are working with smell testing so far, and we're noticing in the beginning where she used to find peanuts and peanut butter, particularly like ultimately like repulsive, couldn't deal with it, almost wanted to puke. Now she can tolerate the smell. It's getting a little bit more tolerable. It's starting to take a little bit of a turn towards being slightly pleasant. And smell testing with anaphylactic clients is always where I start. So yeah, we're starting to notice those changes with the underlying treatment being reducing acid levels or tackling acid management. So that's what I wanted to come on and share. That's what I'm working on. Early results are looking very favorable, and I'm excited to talk with other people, work with other clients on this, because I really think it's a heavy hitter that's flying under the radar, that's being missed, to help a huge group of people who almost like live their lives with, a little bit of heightened anxiety and fear because they don't want these responses to threaten their health. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Know that I'm always on the case, reading, researching, doing the best that I can to help the clients that I have execute our motto, which is eat where you want, when you want, where you want, fearlessly. That's what we're working towards. So thank you for listening. If you have any thoughts, any comments, any questions about what I've shared, go ahead and type them below or send me a message. I'd love to hear what you guys think of the theory, the relationship, the pattern that I'm picking up on. And yeah. One more thing that I forgot to add was that I actually got a message from a client who I'm not working with them at the moment to help manage the allergy, but I've worked with them in the past and we were having a conversation. She shared actually this following message, so I'll just read it here. A weird coincidence, she said, that her daughter had a bite of a cookie with peanut butter chips today. Her tongue immediately felt weird and she spit it out, brushed her teeth, spit a lot, and they gave her Benadryl. Her sister, so the mom has two daughters. One daughter was having a response, and the sister, who's a nurse, was here or at the house at the time and said to give her Pepcid as well. Sister said that apparently the ER uses something similar to Pepcid for allergic reactions. So if you guys know Pepcid, like Pepcid AC, it's for management of like heartburn, acid reflux, stuff like that. And so she goes on to say, she thought that it was interesting because Pepcid helps with acid reflux, and we were just having the conversation. So she was like, you were just saying that the reactions, that anaphylactic reactions is what we were talking about, could be due to acid imbalance. And she just wanted to share, and that her daughter ultimately went to her dance class that night. So she was thinking that she was okay. So I found that so interesting that if this is a method of treatment, even if it's kind of like in an emergent state, that there's definitely a link between acid imbalance, acid management issues, and an anaphylactic response, or they wouldn't be using it in hospitals. So when I got that message, personally, it was just super encouraging, because whenever I'm putting puzzle pieces together to help clients, I'm always looking for, the best evidence to support my treatments and support why I recommend a certain course of action to a client. So getting messages like this is just like icing on the cake for me. Thanks for listening, guys. Stay tuned, and I'll keep sharing what I know and what I'm learning on the path to helping people break free of their food allergies. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Food Clues podcast. I hope you found today's talk insightful and inspiring as you navigate your journey towards better health and wellness. Ready to take the first step in conquering your food allergies? Visit www.myfoodclues.com/quiz and take the Food Clues quiz today. In less than 5 minutes, you'll get your first food clue to identify the likely causes of your food reactions. This will be your first opportunity to uncover the hidden factors impacting your health and start your journey towards food freedom. Stay connected by following the Food Allergy Doc on Instagram. Enjoy the Food Allergy Freedom Collective on Facebook, where you'll find a supportive community and valuable resources to help you on your path to wellness. And don't forget to subscribe to the Food Clues podcast so you never miss out on an episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and share it with someone you know. Thanks for listening, and remember, your food clues are the key to conquering your food allergies. Take the quiz, join our community, and let's achieve food freedom together.